Chromosomes. Little strands of nucleic acids and proteins are the fundamental genetic instructions that tell us who we are at birth. Most people are born with 46 chromosomes, but each year in the United States, about 6,000 people are born with an extra chromosome, making them a person with Down syndrome. If you've ever encountered someone with Down syndrome, you know that they are some of the kindest, most joyful people you will ever meet. They truly have something extra. My name is Lisa Nichols, and I have spent the last 24 years as both the CEO of Technology Partners and as the mother to Allie. Allie has something extra in every sense of the word. I have been blessed to be by her side as she impacts everyone she meets. Through these two important roles as CEO and mother to Allie, I have witnessed countless life lessons that have fundamentally changed the way I look at the world. While you may not have an extra chromosome, every leader has something extra that defines who you are. Join me as I explore the something extra in leaders from all walks of life and discover how that difference in each of them has made a difference in their companies, their families, their communities, and in themselves. I'm delighted to have Dr. Palash Bera on the show today. Dr. Bera is the Interim Associate Dean, Graduate Programs at Chaifetz School of Business at St. Louis University. If you like this episode today, please go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and leave us a 5-star rating. Welcome to the Something Extra episode today. I am so delighted with my guest is Palash Bera, Dr. Palash Bera. He and I recently met, but I tell you what, I feel like we've already done a few things together, Palash, and I'm excited because I think we're going to do a lot more together in the future.
Exactly. Yes. I think we met, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and a lot of ideas came into my mind after that meeting. You connected me with several IT people. You helped me to attend a CIO leadership conference, and we are doing some work together with your organization, and that has led so many different opportunities, ideas. Few of the things I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, I'm very excited that we have been doing some great work today together.
Yes. I am too. And I'm not telling you just because you're sitting here, but I think you're going to probably become one of my favorite people. And there's a number of reasons for that. But hey, listen, I have to just give a shout out to Becky McDonough from MasterCard, because when she and I were having coffee, and I know she's one of your adjunct professors there at SLU, but she told me, she said, Lisa, you really need to meet Dr. Bera. And boy, was she right. Because, yeah, we've already done several things together, Palash. And I know that you just met with my husband, Greg, yesterday. I mean, I think we're going to do a lot more together. So we have a lot to talk about. I know that you grew up in India, right? So tell me a little bit about growing up. Tell me about your parents, your siblings. You're obviously a lover of technology. You're a lover of learning and education. But where did that come from? Did that stem from somewhere? I mean, just let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, good. I'm a little bit shy about talking myself by nature, but because you asked, I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So I come from a very simple background. My family, my father is a general physician. He's a doctor, and he has been practicing for more than 50 years, and he's still practicing actually. My grandfather was a doctor. His father was a doctor. So we are in the medical area for a very long time. My sister is a nurse practitioner. She's in Houston. My brother is in New Delhi. He's also in the healthcare industry. So the whole family was into the medical or healthcare. And somehow I didn't like the idea of, being in the healthcare as a career. I didn't want to take the healthcare as a career option. It's very stressful, very difficult. It's a lot of dedication. I saw my father waking up at night, midnight, attending patients. He would never say no, and he would treat many patients for free. He did a lot of work with different charitable organizations, including the Mother Teresa Foundation. Very actively, he did a lot of work. So I got pretty interested in helping other people in different ways, but not through healthcare. So a long time ago, when I was in my college and I got an opportunity to do internship in Coca-Cola at a beverage firm about technology, project that I got about how do you plan routes for salesperson. At that point of time, I didn't know anything about it. Later, I came to know there is actually a problem called traveling salesperson problem, a very common research problem called traveling salesperson. So at that point, I didn't know. But I realized the importance of IT. This was, I'm talking about early 2000 or late 90s, 98, 99, at that point of time. I suddenly realized that IT has a huge potential in making business decisions. It can just transform the world. So I realized that, and then I thought that IT would be more not in the forefront, but at the background. That was my idea. That you don't need to really take IT decisions. The managers or the business decision makers need not get into IT. The IT needs to help them to make decisions. So that's the idea that I got. And I was also involved in training organizations in India. I worked in a company in Fiat, the car manufacturing company. And I was in the industry for related to training and consulting. And I came in touch with several professors from different universities. And I was pretty amazed about their knowledge. They were not rich. In India, professors are not rich, but they have amazing talent, amazing respect from the leaders, business leaders. And I thought that, okay, this is something that I need to be stepping in. And I decided, okay, I need to get a higher degree in technology. And that's the whole thing started. I came to Canada. I enrolled in my master's program in MIS, Management Information Systems. I did pretty well. I was one of the fastest one to finish the programs in the history of the college. And then I decided to do the PhD because, that would really lead an academic career. And I started liking the academic career. I saw my professors, how well knowledgeable they are, how the academic freedom and teaching, passionate. They are so passionate about their teaching. So I realized that if you're a researcher, you are also have the responsibility to teach properly. It's not that either you're a researcher or a teacher. I realized that, a good researcher is actually a very passionate teacher. So I liked that idea, and then I started my PhD. It was extremely competitive at that point of time. I'm talking about 2003 to 2008, 2007, my PhD years. At that point of time, I was in Canada, University of British Columbia, UBC. It was the number one program in the world. So you can imagine how competitive it would be and how difficult it was, spending whole nights doing research. We had, I think, around 15 students doing research, PhD together. Amazing team, amazing environment, and I learned a lot. My advisor, he literally, took me as a son, and said, "Oh, son, you need to do a lot of things." And he taught me so many things, and I'm really happy that I'm able to do whatever I am doing right now based on his, suggestions, guidance, and that's what I am, an academician in IT.
Palash, have you been able to keep up with him and to continue that relationship? Hopefully he's still alive. Oh, that's awesome.
Right. And, he has retired 5 years ago, and we had a retirement party, and he invited all the ex-students around the world. Now you can imagine there would be like 30, 40 students around the world. Some of them are deans, some of them are associate deans, and some of them have moved to the industry. We all came together. We had a nice farewell, and every once in a while, he has retired into a small island in Vancouver, near Vancouver, very beautiful place. But we once in a while we connect through Zoom just to chat and see what is happening with him. But extremely lucky to be with a group of highly qualified and highly established and accomplished researchers in my area.
Boy, it just makes you better, doesn't it, Palash? The people that you surround yourself with. I'm thinking about Jim Rohn. I don't know if you've ever read anything about Jim Rohn, but he said you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And when you are hanging around with these other brilliant people, it just helps you raise your level of competency, I think, don't you?
Yes. Not just competency, but confidence as well, because I do not consider to be the best of the best. But if you hang out with the people who are really good, my second academic advisor is currently the heading on journal. It's the best journal called MIS Quarterly. He's an editor-in-chief of MIS Quarterly. That is the dream position that you can even think of as an academician. So he has been able to do that, an amazing researcher, and he's just so happy that what I have been doing. And, pushing me to do research, pushing me to do, teaching, and just lead a good quality of life. So I'm very blessed with these amazing researchers, and I have like surrounded by these researchers around the world. So right now he's in Australia. I have some good researchers with whom I work in Canada and some in Belgium. I have set up a pretty good network in researchers in Belgium and few from Germany as well. So yeah, so having an international team really motivates you to do something very good, something. And when we meet, we discuss the problems and opportunities and help each other. That is very common in the academic world, because this world is really small. There are not really large number of researchers and teachers. And so IT management is a pretty narrow field. It's not a really large field like finance and accounting. It's a pretty narrow field. So there are not many researchers, and it's always good to talk to each other and find out what's happening and how do we teach better, how do we do research better, how do we even help the organizations to do some good IT related work. So yeah, it has been quite an amazing experience so far.
Really, it's collaboration too. You've collaborated. I know we talked about this offline before. I said, I don't know anybody that's got as many publications and research publications in that that you do. I mean, I know people do, but you've collaborated with a lot of those other researchers, right, on those projects. Something else, Palash, that I was just thinking about when you talked about technology improving the world. That's our tagline. We are harnessing the power of technology to improve the world. And we feel like we're doing that with the clients that we partner with. But as you were talking, I was thinking, you know what? You've married those two things, because education is an opportunity to improve the world too.
Right, and that's so correct. And the academic world and the industry world must get married together, right? Then things would work. Ultimately, we are producing students, and students must work. And if they are not ready to work in an IT environment, they would not be, doing their job properly. So how do we make this ready? And there are challenges. I can tell you for sure there are challenges that we face in teaching. And one simple example might...
I want to dig into that. Why don't you tell me some of those challenges that you see?
Right. So the example is, the technology world, the business world is moving very fast. Things get changed very quickly. A new technology gets adopted and can get obsolete. Organizations can move from one technology to the other pretty soon. There is a lot of hiring and rehiring and attrition happening all the time. So when this is happening at such a high speed, the academic world is not able to catch up. So sometimes we lag, and the lag is for different reasons. The main reason is we take time to understand the technology, understand the implication or impact of the use of technology in organizations. So unless our professors or faculty are not ready to understand that, they cannot teach. So that lag is always there in any discipline, particularly in the business. As far as I know, in finance and marketing and anywhere, there would be a lag that what we teach is not up to date on what the industry practices. So there will be a lag. So how do we cope up with it? So one of the things that I have been thinking about it is, okay, we teach maybe that is not 100% relevant at this point of time, but how about we teach and practice at the same time? And that's why the new terms that have been coming up in this education industry, one is called experiential learning. So learning can happen through textbook. I can give you certain things and you read. And that textbook-based reading or learning has been kind of phasing out in this young generation students, because it's very difficult to teach something where they can find the information from a book. And these students are so tech savvy. They are on the social media. They can Google up anything. So just imagine the pressure that a faculty would have before saying something, because whatever the faculty says, it could be verified immediately by typing that in Google and saying that, oh, you're not correct, right? So fact-based teaching or fact-based learning is phasing out very, very quickly. But on the other hand, students need to learn fact. That's the basic of skills. If you don't learn fact, how can you really get an expert or become an expert in certain area? So one way of doing that, there could be other ways. One way of doing that is, how about when they learn, they also apply that at the same time. And that is what we call as experiential learning. Learning in the classroom, learning outside the classroom. And sometimes this experiential learning can happen both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. Traditionally, we have different methods, like case study method. You see what happens in an organization, you write up a case, you analyze the case in the classroom. But still, after a certain point of time, you realize that all these cases might not be really, up to date. They might not be that relevant in the current industry. So we need to do something more. So now the world of, at least in the business education, is moving towards experiential learning. And there are different opportunities that have come up, which I can share.
Oh, well, that's, you know what? Perfect segue. You just set me up. Perfect segue here. Because when you told me what you were doing with the MBA program, that's when I really got excited. And you're on it. I'm like, Palash, you are on it the way that you're doing this. So, I mean, we've got a lot more to talk about, but let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, I want you to tell our listeners about how you are going about incorporating experiential learning, because I think it's phenomenal, and I think you're phenomenal. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Palash Bera on the Something Extra podcast.
Hey there. In a challenging business climate like this, savvy leaders look to technology to find an edge. This can mean the difference between staying ahead of the curve or playing catch-up. It's time to collaborate with the highly skilled experts at Technology Partners. Our team of technologists draws upon decades of experience for your project, with each bringing a passion for solving problems and a track record of success. How can we help you overcome your biggest technology challenges? Visit technologypartners.net to book a free consultation with one of our leaders.
So welcome back to the Something Extra podcast. So Dr. Bera, I just told you when I had talked with you, I got so excited about what you're doing with this experiential learning. Why don't you tell our listeners about the MBA program, how you got that set up, and then what I'd really love for you to talk to them about is what is most needed. How can they help you move the needle and move forward on this? Because I think you're onto something. I really do. I think you're onto something really exciting.
Thank you, Lisa. This is really important. MBA programs are going through a phenomenal transformation throughout the country. There are all universities who are engaged in MBA programs are thinking about how to develop programs that are relevant, how to make these programs more attractive, how to make them competitive as well, so that you get the best education. So MBA education is quite intense and very competitive. You look at our St. Louis area, we have some outstanding universities offering such MBA programs. So each university or every university is trying to do something different, something unique. So as I talked about the experiential learning component earlier, that, education can be given in two ways. One is the textbook oriented or more like from the fact-based teaching or learning. Other one is experience-based. So what we decided is, we have a one-year MBA program which is data analytics intensive program. So that means data analytics is actually embedded in the curriculum, the entire curriculum. So you will have data analytics aspect in each and everything that we teach in this program. So we decided that data analytics is such a relevant field that if you just talk about data analytics by using case studies or artificial data sets, students would learn, but they would never become ready when they start working. So what we decided is to have a course called Data Analytics Consulting. It's a 6-credit course that is spread across the entire curriculum for 9 months. And what we do is we pair these students in teams to different organizations, such as Nestle Purina and some Equifax and some more, and some nonprofits as well, where they pick up certain business problems and try to solve those business problems using data. So we work in a collaborative team setting. So there will be a group of students from the university, one faculty mentor, and one or more people from the organization to solve a business problem together. So they have dedicated consulting days, like most of the Fridays, where they would not learn anything other than this practicum in this consulting project. And when we start doing this, we realize that the world of data analytics is way more different than what is being taught in the textbook, right? So when you go and look at the textbook, you have data sets which are pretty organized. But the moment you step into the real world, it's quite messy. The data is messy. There are information which is duplicated, missing information, and then the students start realizing, oh my God, how do I really tackle this? So we tell them, no worries, we'll take care of it, and we start them understanding that any business problem, you have to start with thinking piece by piece, start looking at the data, see what we can do, what we can analyze, don't overpromise. So they get a real consulting experience while they solve these kind of problems. And we have developed certain tools and techniques of our own, and which we are really blessed with. So we have some faculty, and particularly I want to name our faculty. His name is Abhi Gupta, an amazing faculty who has been awarded a teaching award by university recently. He has developed certain tools which we use in this university to teach certain skills, certain coding skills, much easy and in a much concise ways. Like they learn R coding without really looking into R. So things like that. What we get out of this is students get ready, not only solving the real business problems through data analytics, but also learning about the organizational culture. They learn about how to communicate, how to talk to these managers, how to negotiate. I tell them that, look, when you go to this organization, you have to ask for data. Never say no, right? Ask as much as you can. They might not give you all data, just ask. So how do you negotiate? And if you get stuck, we will be there to help you. So they learn about these different skills, which are extremely important. Like soft skills is probably more important than the technical or hard skills in IT. We know that, right? So they learn this, and then when they do a good job, we see that organizations come forward and ask that, would you like to join? And like last year, we have 2 students placed already in Nestle Purina out of 5 students who are doing the project. This time we have 9 students who are working in a Nestle Purina project, and we have other projects as well. St. Louis University has an ethics-driven mission to help others, cura personalis. So like help the whole being, whole person. So we intentionally work with some nonprofits because nonprofits may not have resources to do data analytics. They may not have dedicated team members, right? So we go there, do whatever we can to help solve problems. For example, right now we are doing a data analytics project at a nonprofit called Operation Food Search. It's a pretty large organization helping to solve the hunger problem. And there are a lot of projects, how to manage the data on these projects, how to do analytics on these projects. So I think these kind of skills that these students are doing is extremely useful. So the question that you ask is, what do I need from these organizations? I need these organizations to come forward, partner with us, help us, because it's actually a social cause that you think, when you partner with a university, you are also getting back. What are you getting back? You're getting back the students, the skills that you're giving to the students. And I see that some of the organizations come forward and say that, can we teach some communication skills to these students? I said, absolutely, go ahead. In Operation Food Search, they will do some volunteer work, carrying food all by themselves and loading them into trucks. That's equally important, right? Because you need to know how a business works. Otherwise, how will you be able to do a good data analytics? So come to us, partner with us, and we will be able to help you with solving your business problems. And think about it. It's a long-term opportunity. It's not that, okay, we are doing it only for a couple of months and then we are gone. No, we are doing almost for a whole year. So you have the time to see our students, to analyze our students, and if you like them, you can hire them. And the other thing is, if you are, you are also maybe, I don't want to highlight that, but cost saving, right? Just imagine if you hire 8 or 9 IT consulting people for a year, the cost of it, right? And it would be significant amount of cost saving for you if you partner with us.
Well, I tell you what, Dr. Bera, Technology Partners, I'm so excited. I'm so excited when you can say we're part of that cadre too, because we're going to work hard. I love what you're doing. And I know that we love giving back. We love helping others. It's one of our core values. So that is definitely there. But to have these amazing students and the students, and we won't get into that, but because we don't really have the time right now, but I know like even the way you're vetting these students, you truly are vetting and getting the best and the brightest. And I know that from the things that we've talked about, but I want to spend just a couple of minutes because I think this is really important. This is another thing I got really excited about when you and I talked. You had told me about some testing software that you had developed. I think you had collaborated with someone on this, possibly one of your research fellows before, but tell me a little bit about this. When you told me that you can speed up the speed of the testing, get things into production quicker, I was all in because we all need to get these platforms and these things that we're developing into testing or into production faster. So tell me about this and tell me kind of where you are, what are your future plans for the software? Can we spend a few minutes on that?
So roughly 6 or 7 years ago, one of my faculty members is pretty sharp and good, and he had very good testing knowledge. And he came up with an idea that with some algorithms, testing can be enhanced. And my background is in requirements analysis. So requirement analysis is how do you analyze a system before a software is installed or used. So requirements analysis and testing go together. And we came up with a methodology that if you follow a certain structured approach, you can really expedite the testing process. So once we had that drawn in boards and wrote papers, we have actually a couple of research papers on that, and we actually filed a initial patent, but we didn't follow through later because we thought that our ideas could be stolen. So then we designed the software. And we came up with a methodology and started applying it. So we were looking for application that could be actually done in certain organizations. We contacted several of the organizations, and luckily we got a breakthrough in a Department of Defense project. And what they did is they used our tool to analyze their software on testing, because in DoD there are different kinds of projects. This was about healthcare. I think it was about Obamacare healthcare project. It just came out, and there were so many different aspects of the websites on applications. How do doctors work? How do physicians and nursing, and a lot of complicated software being developed. So they found it extremely useful when they followed our process. So what we had to do is we had to teach them an approach on how to do the testing, how to do the requirements. And once they write the requirements in a specific way, the test cases, the test plan, the requirements analysis documents, everything becomes so automated, so useful. We realized that, we are moving in agile methodologies all the time. We use a lot of time to develop products, IT products in agile. And in this agile environment, nobody has time to write any documentation. Nobody knows what's going on. So we have seen that, agile projects, a lot of times repetition happens. Things that have been done, it is being done again. So how to avoid that? And if you have some kind of documentation, then only we'll be able to figure it out, right? That it is being duplicated. So we created this entire process, and I think it's a very nice idea because it is, it has a research component. It has some of the AI components already inbuilt into the software that expedites the testing. So I'm going to give you a very clear example. So let's say that there is an application that had 500 fields. And in fact, there are applications that have something like that, 500 fields. So somebody has to fill up 500 fields in order to go to the next screen, or maybe in multiple screens. Now, you want to test all these fields properly, right? And if you see that 500 fields, if you want to permute and combine, there'll be almost like billions of possible test cases. So we used our algorithms and found that this entire testing, the test scripts can be written only in 32 test cases instead of billions. So that's the magic or power of using algorithms. And it was so much appreciated at the Department of Defense that they really liked this and said in testimonials so many times that, look, your tool works because you have a pretty developed methodology, you have a solid research behind it, and it works. So it's been set up, the only thing is because we are academicians, we are not people who are marketing and
marketers.
So we didn't get into the process of commercialization. But this approach, we are willing to teach organizations on how to do testing, how to do requirements analysis in Agile, and you would be able to get all the documentation without spending any time on it. So I think this might be a good idea for you to test it out. And it still uses all the latest algorithms related to AI and similar areas. And I think it might be a nice mix of what academicians can produce and contribute to solve a real problem. A real problem is how to shorten your testing cycle.
Yes. Anything you can do to shorten the software development life cycle, right, Dr. Bera? Anything you can do to do that, because then the organization can start taking advantage of that new system quicker, right? So very, very, very important. Well, we'll give in our show notes, we'll give all of the information and ways to contact you, Dr. Bera. So if there's a listener out there that's interested in this, I'm going to help you with the marketing piece just a little bit here with something extra. But, we don't have time to talk about all of these, but I told you that you've published so many different articles, and I'm going to give you 2 different articles, and then you tell me which one you would like to talk about, because I found both of these really fascinating. In 2019, you published an article called Using Eye Tracking to Expose the Cognitive Processes of Understanding Conceptual Models. I find that so fascinating that you're tracking the eyes to see how people are actually processing. In 2016, you published another interesting article called How Colors in Business Dashboards Affect the User's Decision Making. And so I'm like, really? I mean, the colors can really make that big of a difference in the dashboard. So which one of those would you like to do a little bit deeper dive in?
I'll probably go with the first one, but both are related. Both uses the eye tracking software. And I've been using eye tracking software for quite a long time, and did research on different areas. One is this dashboard design. Other one is conceptual models like process models. And also in the accounting area, I partnered with a few accounting professors where we found that auditors can write certain notes on the footnotes, and they can escape the detailed auditing process. Very fascinating research on accounting domain. So the first one is conceptual modeling. So conceptual modeling is actually the models which are used to understand the domain. So before you develop a software, you understand what it is, how the system will look like, right? So you develop either data model or process model, or there are different kind of UML models which are generally developed. These days, they are not much developed because of Agile, but in certain contexts, they are actually developed. UML models have been found to be extremely useful in software development. So the idea is, when you develop these models or in like dashboards, where do people look at? What are the most important things that they look at, and why do they look at? So that relates to the cognitive behavior. So eye tracking is basically a field that connects eyes with brain. So there is a connection between eyes and brain, which this connection is not very clear to us, but we know that what we look at, we also think at it. And this behavior can be well captured, and there is software to do that can tell you that we are looking at certain space, you're spending more time, and it can also tell you whether that the time that you're spending, is it because that space is attractive, or is it because it's quite confusing. So it can distinguish between that, because you might look at or gaze at something just because it's very confusing to you. You don't know what's
Right.
going on. Or
Right.
it might be very interesting, right? You really like that. So color is something like that. So I really like a color. I will just stare at my one way to understand that or analyze that is, where do you look at first? So when I look at a screen, where do I look at? First thing I look at is a certain place, which attracts me. So we do this kind of research. In fact, I was talking about one-year MBA projects, a few minutes ago, and we actually have done some of these projects related to eye tracking. In Nestle Purina, we have been doing some of these eye tracking projects pretty well. In the last week only, we did a summer project, and we finalized and presented the findings. It was very well received. We have seen that, when these, this is actually the whole area of UX design, how to design user interface or user experience using this cognitive psychology theories. And there are different tools. One is eye tracking, other one is fMRI. There are stress testing and so many things. But eye tracking is something that can be done pretty easily and cost effectively. And in fact, just a couple of hours ago, we were having a meeting on setting up an eye tracking lab, a proper lab in the building, so that we can do it much systematically. And we can do, if organizations are interested in finding out how to use eye tracking, we will be able to help them to set up some experiments and do these studies. But ultimately, they are very useful tools for designing any interface.
I'm just thinking, oh my goodness, I'm just off the top of my head thinking of all kinds of use cases, even in education, how the material is presented, obviously websites and customer portals and things like that. I'm thinking about the procurement process and how procurement engineers look at proposals and things like that. I mean, the use cases are really endless, Dr. Bera. I find that so fascinating. Well, I'm going to ask you one other question before we moved into something extra. I have to know, and this is more of a personal question, and I know you don't like talking about yourself, but in the 30 minutes that you have left over during the week, after you're writing and you're teaching and you're leading these MBA students, How do you spend your time in that extra 30 minutes?
Oh, walking. I love walking.
Do you?
Yeah, when I walk, I get a lot of ideas and, listen to music and just relax. We need to relax. Sometimes it's very difficult to disentangle work from life. Sometimes wake up at the middle of night and start thinking about, okay, I need to monitor that project and how do I do that, right? So to reduce the stress, do exercise, walk. It's extremely important. Also, I'm very fond of cooking. I like cooking, not just for a little bit. I can cook up to 100 people easily.
My goodness. Well, you know what? I'm going to talk to Jenny, and maybe the next outing that we do for Technology Partners, we'll come have you cook for the team. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so it takes out your stress, cooking, walking, and things like that. I have a dog.
Right.
Friendly. So
the operative word there is taking out your stress. So find those avenues. That's a great word of advice, Dr. Bera. Find those avenues to disconnect from what you're doing on a daily basis. And what you'll probably find is that many times people think, well, I don't have time to do that. Exactly. I don't have the time to do that. Right. But I think when you take the time to do those things, you multiply your time with what you're doing in your day job. I really do. So that is an awesome word of advice. So tell me, what do you think, and you can talk specifically in the education world, what do you think is something extra that is needed from, say, leaders in education?
Right. It's a very relevant question because, education world is getting very, very competitive. For a lot of reasons, students are becoming more choosy, more selective in where they want to do their higher education because it's expensive. Especially graduate students, you will see that many MBA programs have less enrollment. Then universities need to be much more innovative. So I think that one of the things that universities or education leaders must do carefully is to take calculated risk. Now I know risk is something that not many education leaders would like to hear because there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of systems that we need to follow, processes. It doesn't go as fast. Like, for example, if I want to recruit a faculty, it might take much, much long time than what an employee or a manager would be recruited in an organization. The cycle is much smaller. In our case, it could be almost like 9 months to a year, right? A very long time frame. So how do we take calculated risk? And when I say risk, I don't say that, okay, you do anything what you want. You have to think about something that others are not doing. Stepping out of your comfort zone. And getting out of this office, like if I didn't think about this consulting projects, I would have, just focused on the curriculum. But going out and talking to organizations, building up a rapport, building up kind of a relationship and asking them to come, it's generally not an education leader is comfortable doing that. Professors are very comfortable in the classrooms, very comfortable with the textbooks, very comfortable with their offices doing research. But when you say, okay, tomorrow you go out and talk to a CIO or CEO and ask about a project. It's like marketing yourself. It's about marketing your programs. It's not easy. Stepping out and doing something different than what you have been doing so long is the only way for our survival. It is getting very, very crucial, very, very critical. Education industry is very, very competitive now. You can see that Google and Amazon and some other organizations are coming forward to teach and train students. After COVID, everything opened up. A lot of things have become online. So we are now competing with a lot of organizations, training institutes who are providing teaching online. So how do we compete with them? We have to be very relevant. We have to do something different than what we have been doing. So calculated or a certain amount of risk is something that our leaders must take place, must do. Without that, we will not succeed in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great word of advice. Great word of advice. Well, Dr. Bera, what are you most excited about right now? How can our listeners get involved? I mean, I know you're looking for adjunct professors. So if we have some leaders out there that would like to try their hand at teaching.
Right. And I alluded to that when I said that, it takes a long time to hire a faculty because of faculty hiring requires a lot of things to be considered. There is a system in place. There is a tenure track, non-tenure track. A lot of different combinations are there. But something that we always look forward to is hiring people from the industry. So a lot of senior managers, leaders are interested to give back on what they have learned, their wisdom, right? They have been in the industry for 20 years or more. They have collected so much of wisdom. They would like to share it back to us. So for that, we don't need a long hiring process. It can be hired. This whole thing, like adjunct faculty, can be hired at a very short time. So I know that some industry people are interested in teaching, just training or teaching. So these are the people who would be interested in doing these kind of roles. We won't be able to pay massive amount of money and as compensation, but in return, you would get to have amazing experience being in a classroom, sharing your wisdom, sharing the skills that you have accumulated, hearing out the future leaders, right, what they think about it. And it's some of our adjuncts, they do it not for money, but for sharing their experience, sharing their love of teaching. And there are different ways to get this done. One is co-teach. Like if you're not very comfortable teaching all by yourself, you can teach with the faculty, an existing faculty. So you can split a course. So you teach part of it, our faculty will teach another part of it. And as you become, confident and much more, comfortable, you teach all by yourself. So when we seek for adjuncts or faculty or we call it practice-based faculty, we do not just say, okay, here is a course outline, you go and teach. We will make yourself comfortable. We will provide you all materials. We will be doing some sessions. In fact, I attend some of the adjunct sessions, classrooms. I sit at the back and I see what the adjunct is doing, and at the later I will give the feedback that okay, you should do this, that, how to make your teaching more engaging. Because I see some students might still do something beyond teaching. They might play games or something. Classes going on. So this is one area. The other area is as I said earlier, that doing this consulting project. So we need mentors. So if you partner with us and if you have some flexible time, you can actually mentor one of these groups of students on a specific project. So I need people from there as well. So you can see that I'm actually interested more in terms of help in experiential learning-based teaching rather than curriculum-based teaching. Because curriculum-based teaching, it's easy to do. You just have a textbook or set of materials and you just follow through. But when you bring your expertise, bring your knowledge, it's more than that. You need to, maybe you're giving a presentation on a case study or as a guest lecture, your experience, sharing of experience, or solving a business problem in the classroom with other faculty. So there are different ways of doing that. But I'm really honestly requesting those who are interested in this field of technology management and want to teach, please contact us. We'll be very, very happy to engage with you.
Well, Dr. Bera, this has been so much fun. I literally could talk to you for hours, but then we might have to take a little break and let you cook us a little dinner or something like that, if we did this for 10 hours. But I just appreciate your time so much. Thank you. I love what you're doing. And I cannot wait for our listeners to hear your story and to hear all of the things that you're doing and hopefully get involved.
Thanks, Lisa. This has been a wonderful opportunity. You have given me such a big exposure. You are actually mentoring me. I told you before, you are mentoring me. I need that exposure to be in the industry, to see what our students can do. And I'm doing a lot of work in recruiting students, grad students, international recruitment, so many things I'm doing. But, when they come here, when they study, they need to get proper avenue. And, without industry partnership, nothing happens. We can do the best curriculum, but if you don't go out and tell our students and show them the path of what they would do, nothing works. So your role is extremely important. I'm very glad that we got connected and you have been amazingly guiding me, and I'm very fortunate on that.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Something Extra with Lisa Nichols is a Technology Partners production. Copyright Technology Partners, Inc. 2019. For show notes or to reach Lisa, visit tpi.co/podcast. Don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you listen.